ever gives up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe! G.I. Joe!
Hello everybody, good morning. Welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons Part 2. I wanted to do a two-parter instead of doing two figures in one video because this is a Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins figure and not a classified figure, so they don't really go together. But these figures have started to show up on the shelves at my local Targets. If you remember, card and link right here, we've already taken a look at least two of these more basic, lower price point G.I. Joe action figures in the form of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. They came out way before anything else hit the shelves. So here we have Baroness. And if I was going to get any other figure from this line, it was definitely going to be Baroness. Now, we take a look at the packaging. It's exactly the same as what we've seen before, and I mean exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the figure on the inside, the artwork right here on the corner. Even Snake Eyes is the predominant graphic down here on it, but when we flip it around, we can see some promotional shots of Baroness on back, as well as a few shots showing off her action feature, which if you remember she has, or these figures have a action wrist twist, or a waist twist that we'll take a look at. But that's about it. It's just a blister pack in a card, on a card back. You can see into it from all sides. You have your figure, you have your accessories. So let's not waste any more time on the packaging because it's basic as it is. Let's get into this and take a look at Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins Baroness. Alright friends, here she is, Baroness, out of her blister packaging, and before we go any further, I do feel I should remind you that these are not meant to be collectible figures. These, for the most part, are meant to be lower price point, actual children's toys, so they're not going to stack up compared to the G.I. Joe Classified line. I just have this want to collect all things G.I. Joe, especially since there's been such a dry spell of the franchise in figure form for so long. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the tape measure to Baroness, and we're going to see that she stands at just under 6 inches tall, just a hair under 6 inches tall. So she doesn't match up with the... She's a little bit shorter than the other figures, like maybe a couple eighths of an inch shorter than Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were. We'll take a look at that when we do a side-by-side comparison pretty soon. But now we look at the articulation, and the articulation, we're going to do the head last because I want to show you something. So let's start at the bottom first. That there's nothing in the ankles. The ankles don't turn at all. There is a swivel at the knee, as well as a single hinge that puts us at about 90 degrees. The legs go forward, not so much back. They can come out to the side really well, and there's no swivel in the thigh, no swivel at the hip. Now she does have, like this line has, she does have the snap back action feature if you twist her to her, what is that? If you twist her to her right. But if you twist her to her left, there's a series of detents that she can hold pose. So if you do want a waist twist, just twist her to the left until you get the angle that you want. However, the detents are pretty big, and as you can see, if I show you like this, there's not a whole lot of subtlety in her movement, in her swivel there. Okay? There is, other than the waist twist, there is no ab crunch, none whatsoever. The arms can come out to the sides. They can do a full 360. There's no butterfly joint. Elbows can come not quite to 90, but then there is a swivel at the elbow. Like the ankles, there's nothing at the wrists. The wrists are static. They're going to stay like that. Now, the reason I wanted to save the head for last is because I want to show you this. That if you can see, where is it at? If you can see right in there, when I tried to turn her head, because her head was really stuck, it wouldn't even turn. At first I thought there was no articulation in the head at all. But I don't know if you can see or if there's too many shadow that, let's see if we get a light on here. Right there, her neck is already starting to crack just from when I tried to turn her head. So she can do a full 360 once you get that broken in. And because of her hair, she can't really look up and she can barely look down. But I do have to admit that I really like the way that the hair lays on her shoulder right here. It's not as long as the classified figure, but I really like how the hair lays on her shoulder like that. And while we have a close-up here, let's take a look at the face sculpt. That, once again, like I said, it's not going to stand up to the classified series face sculpt. But I don't think the face sculpt is nearly as bad on here as what I was expecting. The paint app, the simplistic paint app, the very soft paint app, might be what's bringing it down and not actually showing it in full detail. Although I have to admit, I do really like the red lips on here. And if you give me 1 second, you can see that there is some semblance, some resemblance between these two face sculpts. The skin tone is completely different, and these eyes, these glasses, are more like goggles on her for a more simple look that we didn't get a separate piece like we did with the classified series Baroness. But I don't think this is as bad as I was expecting. The sculpt on the figure in general isn't nearly as bad as I was expecting, because I really like how you can see in the arms right here, she has this snakeskin pattern. She also has this detailing in her legs. Her knees are really loose, by the way. Kneecaps, she has these snakeskin boots that I really like. And even on her torso piece, if you look underneath like this leather harness thing that she's wearing, you can see like red snakeskin underneath that. And I think this is really well done. You can see that the pattern for the harness continues on the back here. Detail, there's some texture in her pants. It's actually much better than what I was expecting. It's just minus a lot of articulation. Something else that I'm curious about is that there is no cobra symbol on her. Baroness typically, if you take a look at this, has always had a cobra symbol on her chest. Here she just has the red snake skin that I guess is supposed to take place of the cobra symbol. I don't know if they did that to save on the sculpt, if they just wanted to go for something different. I don't know. I don't hate it, but at the same time, part of me misses it. Now, something else that I'm curious about is that the line is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, like it's made for the Origins movie that just came out. Yet this looks nothing like the Baroness that was in the movie. She doesn't have the short hair. She doesn't have like the cat eye glasses. This doesn't look anything like the actress or the character in the movie at all. So I'm kind of curious as to why they decided to go with this more, I don't know, maybe comic book look for Baroness. That's a curiosity to me. Without having any wrist swivel, Baroness doesn't have removable or replaceable hands, so she doesn't have any hand accessories, but her hands are always in a constant state of grip, that you could either use them for grip, or they could be used for fists, for punching. In addition to that, Baroness comes with these two knives, and what I find interesting about these knives is, these actually are the same Cobra head knives that came with the G.I. Joe classified version of Baroness. See if we can get a good look at those. They're just not painted gold, because these are the knives that came with this Baroness. And let me get it out of the figure here. This is the knife that came... Oh my, it's a different sculpt. It's not the same. Look at that. The knife that came with classified is a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, doesn't have the detail in the blade, doesn't have the detail in the handle, and the Cobra head is a little bit longer. This makes me wonder, if you took this knife, it fits in the sheath of the classified Baroness. So if you prefer this one over the one that came with her, you can repaint this gold very easily to match up to this one, and you can give the classified Baroness this knife. Once again, like I said with Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, especially Snake Eyes with those butterfly knives, the melee weapons that seem to be coming with these figures might be a little bit better than the ones that we get with the classified series. Now, unfortunately, Baroness has no place to hold these. I mean, she can hold them in her hands, and it's actually very easy fit, that you just move the blade up from the bottom, and it fits so easily into her hand. But she doesn't have any place on her to holster them. which, if you look on her legs, she has these twin pieces on her thighs that it makes me wonder if she wasn't originally supposed to have twin sheaths that attached right there so that she could sheath her knives, her cobra knives, right there on her leg. Because that looks like it would be about the size that you would need to put a sheath for this knife. In addition to those, she does come with this thing that admittedly I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to be. It's some kind of weapon with a cobra head that I don't know if it's just supposed to ram people, if it's a punch gun, if something shoots out. Maybe it's a flamethrower of some kind. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense. There's not a whole lot of logic behind it. And I know with the Classified series, we've been getting like those Nerf-style laser guns, but I'm just not sure what this is supposed to be. Now here she is alongside her Classified series counterpart. We have G.I. Joe Origins Baroness and G.I. Joe Classified Baroness. And you can see that even though Baroness in the Classified series is a little bit shorter, because she's a female figure, this Baroness is even shorter than her. Here she is with a standard Cobra Trooper and Destro, also from the Classified line. And I have to admit that despite her short size, her smaller stature, she doesn't not fit in with this line. Not like Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow didn't. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow definitely have smaller builds and don't fit in with the male figures. But being a female figure and Baroness being slim to begin with, she almost kind of fits in with this. The only thing that's driving me crazy is, and you may have noticed, is this neutral stance of hers. Her legs don't close any more than what you see here. And since she doesn't have ankle rocker, her feet will never stand flat on the ground. Here she is with a few more Hasbro female figures, the Spider-Gwen from the Into the Spider-Verse line, and the Marvel Legends Black Widow from the movie Black Widow line. And finally, here she is with figures from her own line, from the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes Origins line, Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes. You can see that she is just a hair shorter than the two of them, but for the most part, she's about the same size. So I'm going to say it again. These are $10 figures. These are children's toys. These are not meant to be adult collectibles. These are not meant to be something that's going to go against the G.I. Joe Classified line. This is definitely not something that's meant to replace the G.I. Joe Classified line. This may not even be something that's meant to exist past the lifespan of G.I. Joe Origins Snake Eyes. This might just be something that was made for the movie, and they're going to see how the line does and see if they're going to bring out a lower price point G.I. Joe collection, just like the Marvel Avengers, and just like what's the Star Wars line, Fleet Missions right now. So this obviously has its issues with articulation. This obviously has its issues with posability, especially with that waist. You saw the neck was cracking. This is not something that is like the perfect G.I. Joe figure. This is not something that is the perfect Baroness. However, because it is the Baroness, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to get it. Also, for me, something at this price point, this is a true toy, not a collectible. And to me, that in and of itself has a charm that the Classified series doesn't have. And don't get me wrong, I love my Classified series. I absolutely love my Classified series, and I'm not going to stop collecting that in favor of these. But I probably will collect them as two different lines, because like I said, this does have a simplicity, this does have a charm, this does have a little bit of nostalgia that these are just action figures. And this is something that was meant to be played with, figures that were meant to be bashed together, thrown in the dirt, go to war, anything that a kid's imagination can come up with. And that, to me, has a charm and an appeal all in and of itself. So I hope you enjoyed this look at the G.I. Joe Origins Baroness. So until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.
Organization determined to rule the world.
He never gives up, he'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe!